one. Welcome to the Koz and Bru Show.
Yeah.
What is up, brother Koz?
What is up? What's up with you? Big news since the last show. Our very own Aaron Brewski has joined the ranks of the men who are now at the bottom of the totem pole in their homes.
The men that are at the bottom of the ranks.
You are now a father. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much. Man, it's been a while since we've been on a show, and obviously life has changed significantly. It's totally different, Koz. It's totally different, but it's great. We're back kind of in the flow of things. Kind of, sort of, I say that on 3 hours sleep here, which is actually a good amount. So I actually feel spry.
Right.
I may or may not be injecting the Hawaiian Isles Kona coffee into my veins directly, like an addict. But no, man, it's great. Skylar was born about 3 weeks ago, so it's crazy. You know, they tell you everything about it. You told me everything about it. Dan Bespris told me everything about it. You know, you guys have been in kind of the years ahead of me, going through all this stuff. So you guys told me all about it. Everybody told me how great it would be, and then it exceeded all of those expectations, and then some. We almost had the baby at the house, which was wild. I did read one internet article about how to deliver a baby. Completely forgot everything that I read, so no help there.
Yes.
But we got in the car. Luckily, we live right around the corner from the hospital, and I mean, she had no signs of just like gonna have this baby right here and now. And we had that baby probably 25 minutes later, so it was wild times. And so we've been gearing up for all sorts of different things, and so we're back. And with not a moment to spare, good sir, because we have playoffs, predictions, awards, all that preseason stuff that everybody else may have done already, but not quite as good as us.
That's right.
So,
so that's pretty funny. I was listening, that you say that. I was listening, actually driving home last night, and this guy, one of the local dudes, was talking about the Warriors' upcoming season. And he says, like, he really doubts that they're going to be above 500 and all this stuff. And he was like, we don't know what these guys are like. We don't know about, like, how do we know who Willie Cauley-Stein is? How do we know what he's going to do? And I'm like, well, he's been in the league like 4 or 5 years. Like, you know what he's going to do because he's done the same thing for 4 years. Like, it was so funny when he was saying, like, Burke, we don't know what he's going to do. We don't know what this person's going to do. It's like, yeah, we do. We know exactly what this person's going to do if you watch basketball. Like, it was
in the case of Willie Cauley-Stein, he's just going to do something really stupid most of the time. But he's going to do it, and he's going to do it with consistency. Poor Willie. Willie has, he had such a great shot there to just get the whole Golden State corporate knowledge thing going and really just take advantage of playing with one of the premier pick and roll players in the league. Assuming, of course, he would roll to the hoop. You know, there's a question if he would do that or not, but he could have been getting it going, and now it's Marquise Chris out there who's, it was funny. It was great that Draymond Green just blasted the Suns because he was like, nobody ever blames the franchise for these players sucking, these high picks sucking in their first few years and the kind of destroying of their careers. And Chris has definitely had his share, or it's definitely on him, for a lot of things. But he specifically mentioned, he's like, yeah, they had him launching threes and all this stuff, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good rant there, for Draymond.
I think that you find that in a lot of sports. Like, I don't think that the organizations get, enough credit for busts as when they just kind of, everyone just kind of blames it on the player. And I think, like, if you're going to be drafting people this young, I mean, you really need to have a much clearer vision. But it's just so, like, everything's so haphazard for these teams that, consistently stay at the bottom. And it's just really no wonder. I mean, you can't you can't bring a 19-year-old into a situation they've never been in before and just expect them to just thrive.
I haven't pitched the draft guide, which is selling like crazy this year, and everything at Hoopball, the site, our site, that site, is going great. But Sarver, when we have a shitty, pardon me, owner, sorry, it's 3 hours. I was just going to swear, whatever. When you have that owner in the league, in our fantasy league, I should say, you never want him to leave. And everybody's always asking, like, well, why don't they get rid of Sarver? I bet the other 29 guys are like, no, Sarver stays. That's one less team to worry about.
Yeah, right.
It's been a while since we've talked. To kind of, I guess, bring our listeners up to speed, the NBA almost wrecked their relationship with China since we last talked.
Hell yeah.
Everybody comes off looking terrible with that. Did you have any thoughts about that before we get right into the nuts and bolts of...
honestly, I haven't followed it particularly close. I know that Daryl Morey tweeted support for Hong Kong.
How dare he?
How dare he? How dare he support human beings in their quest to gain freedom? That's something I've always frowned upon.
Also, staying alive.
And staying alive, just really bad, characteristics. And I know, and I just kind of know the NBA has been dancing because there's a lot of money they take in from China and then individuals. I didn't see what LeBron said, but apparently...
there was an interesting theory. I'll catch... The listeners probably already know this. But LeBron... LeBron went in front of a camera after practice, got asked about it, and basically said that Daryl Morey was uninformed. But he did it in a hilarious way. And the theory that just got floated, and I wonder if this was some cover from agents... like multiple agents that felt like Jay Michael was a very good reporter out of the Indy Star, used to be USA Today, really been around forever. He's just a reliable guy. He said a lot of agents are saying that they thought LeBron's comments might have been cover for China. So like he goes after Morey to keep China happy and kind of falls on a grenade, which I don't know if I fully buy this because he sounded like that guy that's, it's like, I'm LeBron. I talk about worldly things. You're going to ask me this question. I'm going to have an opinion, but I haven't really researched it, and I haven't really thought about it. And I know he was there, and I know he's supposed to be the guy that was in the meetings, kind of repping the players, sort of being central in this, but he sounded like a guy who had never heard of the topic before, but wanted to wax on it. Yeah. And and then my favorite line was that he said, I don't want to get in a word or sentence thing with Daryl Morey.
What does that even mean? I don't want to get in a word or sentence thing.
He was clearly thinking about, like, I don't want to get into a war of words.
Yeah. It's a new thing, hey,
I don't want to get into a word or a sentence thing. I don't want to get into a punctuation battle with Daryl Morey.
Punctuation thing, or if you're going to say something to me and have pauses in your words, I don't want to, or a paragraph thing, I don't want to do that.
This is not that.
That is
yeah, no, I mean, my thing, I guess, is like, how much money is it really? I know that, like, they were talking about cap drops of like 15 mil per team. So multiply that by 30. I think that's what? Oh, quick math. Don't fail me now. It's like 450. Could it possibly be $450 million that they're talking about?
I thought it was way more than that. I thought that they were talking about like it was about like 700 to a billion. Oof. in the especially like there was something that they're doing right now that's going to be for the future, and that should bring in like, I forget what they said, but that would be bringing in like 1.2 billion or something a year with them. Like there's some sort of partnership and something else that the league is doing. So I mean, whenever billionaires start dancing around,
ain't that a thing?
You know that it's serious dollars.
Well, that's what when Tillman tweeted, it was like, oh man, this ain't good, because you just don't see that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty amazing. But
It,
anyway,
it is amazing to see them quiver, and I guess my thought is like, there's all this stuff like with China apparently asked them to fire Daryl Morey, and now, Silver's trying to grow a spine, or at least publicly, trying to say, oh no, we wouldn't do that, and I'm just sitting here watching China kind of call the shots with this stuff, and I'm kind of thinking, okay, take that, even if it was the billion, try to break that down to each individual owner and what each player would be losing if they just told China to kick rocks. And I really think that's kind of if you're playing the long game here with China and you're like, you guys are going to call the shots on everything now? I don't know about that. I think you got to suck it up, and these guys got to look a little further than the immediate and say, just, hey, China, if you don't like it, don't play.
Yeah.
We were, I mean, because ultimately there you will always be beholden to them.
Yeah.
If you don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's a mutual they're just bullying because that's what the position they've put themselves in. Like they bully every other industry. NBA would be nice. They're usually on the forefront of these kind of issues. It'd be nice if they stepped up and just said, "The hell with you." It's a mutual relationship, or else China wouldn't be doing business with them. So you don't have to quiver right now. You could actually stand on your own 2 feet and, have a couple of $1 million less. I'm sorry, LeBron, you won't be able to bring in, $10 million from China this year.
There was one Lakers player who's got like $1 million contract that they just in China that they were going to get while there. And lost it. And so I think to me, I guess we'll get going on basketball stuff here, but I think it feels like they all just didn't have enough time to figure anything out. Like the guys on the plane heading over for those games left and didn't know I don't think they even had seen the tweet from Morey. So, and they didn't have Wi-Fi on the plane or something. So they got off the plane and were like, whoa. what the hell? And then they were kind of expected to speak on behalf of the league. And last thing before we move, I thought it was great that the team rep for the Rockets basically blocked the CNN reporter from asking a question, saying it was only basketball questions allowed. And that stuff's been pulled around the league by local, usually small markets that kind of control all the media outlets. And it's really an affront to journalism, which I kind of laugh because it's basketball. Like there are a lot of basketball reporters, some of the best ones out there, that kind of have an air of journalism to them, and then some of them take it a little too far. Like they're reporting on politics, or they're in a war zone or something, and they're not. But it is an affront to journalism, and I think the league, one of their next kind of frontiers they're going to have to figure out is kind of what are they doing with journalism, because there's just a lot of censorship, I think, throughout the NBA, and they want to be this progressive league, and you get down to the team levels and they really do kind of pick and choose who they let cover them, and they only kind of will do that if you're a friendly or you're so big that they have to. And so there's a weird little tension there. Anyway,
it's kind of funny that just real quick, it kind of reminds me of a couple of weeks ago with the NFL and the Antonio Brown situation. And I don't know if you caught any of Bill Belichick having to go out there when accuser came.
I saw the look.
He was basically trying to shut down, any kind of questions that had to do with Antonio Brown and the sexual assault and stuff. But there were CNN guys there, and they were just hammering him. And the local guys were like, "Sweet, we don't have to do anything," because they know they can't say anything, because he's gonna ostracize them. They never get a question answered. And then he's like, "I'm here to talk about football." CNN guy again. Yeah, well, here, what about Antonio Brown? He's like, "Well, I'm here to talk about football."
Yeah, those guys don't mess around.
Yeah, and they don't care because they're never going to be in that room again. They're only there to talk about Antonio Brown. So it was hilarious.
I got to work with a lot of city reporters during the Kings relocation thing, and they're great because they do exactly that. They just shout louder. They're just rude, irreverent. And it's great, because it does help get what you need. Imagine that journalism. We need it. Okay, so we do this silly little exercise every single year where we actually grid out the playoffs. So we've picked our teams and we've seeded them in past episodes. So go listen if you care to. And then we pick the champions, and we kind of pick how it all plays out. I'm a little scared to reveal my picks.
Okay.
And I don't know. I'm scared, Koz. I'm scared. And so let's start in the East, because I'm not very scared over there. And
You're not very scared in the East? Okay.
no, I feel like the East, I got this, man. It's real to me. Like, it's this one I would bet on. And then after we do some playoff predictions, we'll try to pick some awards out as well. So in the East, let's recap here. I had, in order of seeding, Milwaukee 1, Philly 2, 3 was Indy, pardon me. Number 4 was Boston, 5 Toronto, 6 Miami, 7 Orlando, and 8 was Brooklyn. And you had done a little something different with your order, actually.
Yeah,
you
so
did some reordering, so let's get your order out here.
I got Milwaukee 1, Sixers 2, Celtics 3, Toronto 4, Indy 5, Miami 6, Brooklyn 7, and Orlando 8.
Got it. Okay. I think we have the same 8 teams there, which
Yes.
that's swell.
Just a little bit different in the middle, I think.
Yes. So the way it plays out here, your first 4 teams, let's get them coming out of that first round, and just sort of any observations that you've got with your first round stuffs.
My first round, I got Bucks in a four game sweep cakewalk over Orlando. I got Indy as the 5 beating Toronto 4-2. I got Sixers rolling Brooklyn 4-0, and I got the Celtics beating Miami 4-1.
Yeah, that bottom.
I don't have a very exciting first round for the East.
That's why I was cool with starting with the East, because I do think some of this stuff kind of writes itself. Similar.
My Indy Toronto is really kind of. I think that could be uglier too. I have Indy in 6, but that could be 5 as well.
Yeah, Toronto, they feel like they could puncture the top 4, huh?
Huh?
Like Toronto, you'd mentioned that you thought maybe Toronto could give Indy some trouble there. Did I catch that right?
Yeah, I do, but I also think that Indy might really. I mean, I have Indy as the 5 seed, but I think that they're going to beat them, and it could get ugly. I think they might really be able to whoop up on Toronto, but maybe Anyway,
Indy's one of the more interesting teams to me in the East this year, because I do think, and we'll talk about them since it sounds like you have them advancing. We can spend a little bit more time on the teams that matter. But they're really interesting to me, and I have the same kind of idea with Toronto, so I have them playing against the Celtics in the first round, and I just think I go, Pascal Siakam, Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka. I kind of feel like their front court is very experienced, talented enough, and Siakam I have a lot of respect for. So then you go down and you see Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, and you just start to feel like this isn't a team that should be overlooked. And with Boston, I look at them and I go, their depth is a question mark, and I also kind of wonder about how their games mesh. Kemba is going to be Kemba. He's going to do his thing in the pick and roll, but like Jason Tatum needs the ball in his hands a lot. Jaylen Brown, is he going to take the next step where he can play off the ball really effectively? Those are the questions I have there, and then you get to their depth. So I actually have Boston going over Toronto because I do think that the talent is kind of hard to deny, but it's close, and I could easily switch that out and go Toronto over Boston and not feel that bad about it. I also have Milwaukee over Brooklyn. I probably would give Brooklyn a game, and I probably could give them no games and feel good about it. Then I have Indy over Miami. Miami's an interesting team this year. I almost wonder if some of the addition by subtraction stuff works itself out for them. Jimmy Butler, I think they needed a guy like that. So I'm curious if they can finally do some of the things that I've been thinking they could do over the last couple of years, but they haven't.
Yeah, I
Orlando.
think that they're going to run into just a talent problem, but I think that they're all going to be happy and they're going to be, it's a Miami team. This is kind of like a, Pat Riley, Spoelstra kind of team. I just don't know that they have enough players to really make any kind of noise in a playoff series. So
It sounds like they're going to start Justice Winslow, and that's that's a formidable 1-2 punch in the backcourt. Him and Butler defensively.
Yeah.
So, and Derek Jones Jr. has been getting pretty good reviews from us forever. But it sounds like he's going to play about 25 minutes a game. So he's a good defender, at least physically speaking. Everything else has got to round out. So it's some intriguing things there in Miami. But I do have Indy advancing over them, and I've got Philly, obviously, over Orlando. But I kind of feel like Orlando might give them a little bit of grief. Vucevic, if anything, defensively is probably just heavier than most centers. And, by virtue of that, he might just get in the way a little bit better against a Joel Embiid. They played with each other for a full year. Maybe Jonathan Isaac gets involved more. You can start to kind of see if Philly comes in, they might want to take that series off. So they might get a couple wins there in Orlando. But Philly advancing out of that group. So correct me if I'm wrong, you have Milwaukee, Boston, Indy, and Philly?
yes,
Okay. And do you have Milwaukee and Boston?
I have Milwaukee, Indy.
You have Milwaukee,
and a 1-5.
Indy. Okay, so in your theoretic 1-5, who did you
Yes.
have advancing?
I got Milwaukee. I have it. Indy's tough, so a tough team. I have it 4-2. I think that they'll get one game because I think maybe Milwaukee will have an off shooting night, and then I think they'll earn another win. But Milwaukee's going to be too much, I think.
So Indy, let's quickly stop on them. I love what they got going on in their depth in the backcourt. Aaron Holiday is a guy that's really, on any other team probably getting more minutes. And then Edmund Sumner, defensive specialist, really kind of in his first year last year, and really did a good job at that. There was a lot of upside talk about him being able to defend three positions credibly very, very well. Think kind of a la Josh Richardson. And then I watched him in the preseason against the Kings, and man, it looks like he brought himself a jump shot. And so he's going to be buried in that rotation. So the depth of what they got going on there, I really think he could probably play 25 minutes for most teams, and you probably aren't, upset about it. So they've got a lot of guard depth. Domantas Sabonis looked great. I mean, there are a couple times he took Marvin Bagley to the post and just he wasn't even there. And obviously Miles Turner. So, do they have the pop to make something happen in the East, like a finals appearance, like a Eastern Conference Finals appearance? Could they theoretically upset a Bucks team?
I don't think so, but it's they're good. I mean, they're a couple years away. It just we'll see. You got to take those steps. I think the Oladipo injury last year, kind of put in a growth situation that you kind of have to take step by step in the playoffs. You gotta get beat up a little bit, and Milwaukee took the big step by losing last year in the way that they lost, and they're just not going to be denied by a team that they're better than. You're not going to upset them. If they're gonna be favored in a series, they're gonna win that series.
I mean, so sliding down to Philly here for me, because I've got Indy against Philly. Philly, the only way they lose is something happens to their starters,
right?
And you kind of pivot back to the Bucks because they are, to me, and I'm pretty sure I bet this. Are they a lock, Milwaukee? I mean, let's fast forward this conversation. You got Philly in the 2 slot, right?
So I have Philly in the 2, and I have them beating the Celtics, but a very close series. I think that the wings are gonna give. I think
The
that Jalen.
slowness.
I think Jalen Brown is going to be able to kind of erase Simmons, like we've seen, like when
Hmm.
we see dominant long defenders can really take him out. And I think this is going to be a tough, tough series for him. So that's going to make it, have the Celtics depth worries me. They got some bodies to bang with Embiid, but I think that uh, Al Horford and Tobias Harris should be able to get the Sixers through. But I think the carryover from how badly Simmons is going to play in that series will really make it easier for the Bucks. Like I think coming into that next round, Simmons' confidence is going to be really rocked, and that's not what you need when you're going against Milwaukee. So I have Milwaukee beating the Sixers 4-2.
What I think is really interesting because so the Simmons stuff, I think you're dead on. Like I think he's going to have yet another bad one, and so Richardson though, like he sort of got this audition in Miami where he sort of self-anointed himself the man, and they also asked him to be the man, and then he kind of refused to be the man because the shot attempts just didn't get to the point where you're taking 16, 17 shots a game and really kind of drawing that level of attention on offense, and he was inefficient at the same time, so almost like he couldn't do it. Now if they do take out Ben Simmons, he then becomes the de facto point guard, and they have all these other ball handlers, that they can deploy on the front end or probably from the front court, so they're not like dead in the water, but it kind of feels like he'll be an X factor in anything they do there, if Ben Simmons gets shut down.
Yeah. I think the problem is that even with Ben Simmons getting shut down, I can't foresee them like he's still going to get his minutes, as badly as he's going to play. They're going to give him every opportunity to get himself out of it. I just don't think he's going to be able to. So, and I think that's going to really bog down, their offense, and then you just don't know what Embiid's going to be like, weight wise, commitment wise, mentally. You just don't know. Again, they have at the top of their roster, the mental game is just so weak, and so unreliable that I just can't, with any good conscience, vote, pick them to beat a connected team that has talent.
And I mean, man, they got talent in Milwaukee, and they added so many role player guys, and just kind of that's going to be very good for them, in the playoffs. And like you said earlier, they've taken their shots, taken their licks. And my only thing with this is, so if you were trying to draw up a team that could theoretically throw bodies in front of Giannis, having a somewhat similarly sized Tobias Harris, Al Horford has gone up against him quite a few times in the playoffs. Embiid is a big body to get in the way. Richardson obviously will, be a pestering force, and then Ben Simmons is pretty custom built to do that. Any fear at all that combination of players, if pointed directly at Giannis, would gum it up for them?
He'll have to make moves. I don't think he can bully them. The difference is Simmons also I think he's a pretty good defender, but he also allows his offense to affect his defense. So it's not like Simmons, he's not going to have it going, but then he's going to be like, I'm just going to shut down. I'm just going to I'm going to get steals. I'm going to be in the lane. I'm going to block shots. He doesn't really do that. And he's not playing well on offense. He's kind of a non-factor defensively as well. And that's kind of a problem. You can't have a guy out there who's not doing it on both ends, playing the minutes he's going to get. I think that, that's a series where, a guy like, George Hill, the bench of Milwaukee, Connaughton, I feel like the amount of minutes that they can play and you not skip a beat is just like,
well, and they got angles on angles. If they want a physical guard, they could go offensive minded physical guard. They could go Dante DiVincenzo. They can Connaughton played great, has great playoff experience for a young player. Everybody will probably talk about Kyle Korver too much, but the corpse of Kyle Korver. He'll be the first guy everybody. They got Kyle Korver.
It's so funny.
Something about that Kyle Korver, he's so dreamy. The one wrinkle I think would be interesting, and we'll move over to the West so we can get really weird. So if Philly at the trade deadline or prior, but if they add some bench depth, which they should, I mean, you're pointed at a win now scenario. Right. Get a bench player, get 3 of them while you're at it, and players will want to play there. So Can they get some players? Interestingly, Matisse Thybulle, if I'm probably not getting that name pronunciation right, he's been tearing it up, man. Defensively. I mean, he's not, there really for anything else at this point in time, but like he's been getting after it. So they got one player off the bench. They got a guy off the bench. He's never played an NBA minute, but that would be interesting to see them do that. All right, so we're both in agreement. It's Milwaukee out of the East.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's get weird.
Right.
Your first round is going to be probably way different than my first round, I think. So let's just have at it. So let us know what happened in the first round of your mock playoffs.
I got, I had Portland as my surprise number 1, so I'll have Portland.
I've got them as 8, by the way.
Yeah, I know, that's hilarious. I got Portland over San Antonio in 7. I think that San Antonio has the defensive perimeter to really give them problems, and I think that's going to, and then the veterans, and so I think that's going to go down the stretch actually. But I have Portland winning at home, in Game 7. I got Denver is 5, Houston is 4. I got Denver winning that series 4-2. I think by then the gig will be up on. I think that they'll win a lot of games early in Houston. They'll have a good stretch of time where they could just, win by getting to the free throw line 50 times a game. But I think
to your point, like to step all over you here, but I really just wanted to step all over you, is James Harden. I think, like, I saw him in a preseason game in Hawaii of all places. And he's out there playing like it's March and he's trying to get an MVP award.
Yeah. He's
that dude's pissed off, man. I think
there's going to be some ball hogging going on.
Oh, Tucker, have you seen the shot? By the way, we haven't had a chance to talk. Have you seen his new shot, the running 3?
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
That's the stupidest thing ever.
Good for you, buddy. Good for you. Good for you.
What are the? Do you think he keeps that up?
I mean, he'll do it. I mean, he'll do it in the game. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm sure he'll do it.
Okay, let's say he does it for the first half of the season that they're winning. Does he keep it up into February, March, and April?
They're winning, of course.
Does he take a shot like that in the playoffs?
Of course. Of course he is. Like, James Harden.
Can you imagine in like Game 7 at home or something? It's like the fourth quarter and he takes that shot. Are you serious?
I mean, like, I'll commend. I do nonstop ripping on James Harden. I will commend the man. He comes into the off season and he works on something and he brings something new every year to add to his repertoire. He is not doing that one-legged thing. He's not doing that just because it's preseason. I keep having flashbacks of Chappelle when he did that skit where he's like doing the softball game and he's running down or walking down the first base. Like James Harden at 38 years old. Oh, dude, no, he's gonna do it. Trust me. No, there's no doubt he's gonna do it. It'll start probably in a couple of blowout games, bust it out here and there. If he drops like 2 in a game.
Like, can you kick the ball into the hoop?
Yeah, he's going to be doing headers next year. Like, don't worry about it. He's going to throw that out there. No doubt about it.
Okay, I'm glad we got this prediction on record, though. He's going to take this shot in the playoffs, and you're good with it.
Oh yeah, that's one of the safer bets you can have going into this basketball season. Is James Harden's going to do a running three off one leg in the playoff game? That's
Imagine
for
if he
sure.
actually hit a major shot with that shot. My
He
God.
probably will. He probably will. So anyway,
Sorry. It's funny,
so I
though.
got,
It's like, I mean, it's like, what if somebody started just grannying shots up in key moments in the game?
oh,
Granny McGee
Granny McGee.
from three.
Oh god.
Okay.
Anyway, I got Denver.
I told you it was going to get weird, dude.
Yeah. I got Denver beating them 4-2.
Okay.
I got 3-6. I got Clippers over Utah, 4-1. And then in the prime time series of the first round, I got the Lakers to sneaking by the Warriors in 7. It's going to be a great series. I think it's going to be clear that the Warriors just didn't have enough time, I think, and there's a couple of defensive issues that they have with some of the new faces there.
You mean Amari Spellman's not doing it for you?
And I'm not too worried about Amari Spellman, actually. I'm more worried about, D'Angelo and some of those young wings that they have, and Steph, obviously.
Let's spend a second on them. So, like, did you seen them in the preseason at all?
Yeah, I went and watched them play the.
Nice. How was the Chase Center?
It was kind of crazy because we were down there for the warm up, really close. We got to see Steph do his thing in the warm ups, and then we were like, to call them nosebleeds is an exaggeration. Like, we were literally on the top row of the Chase Center. And so the thing is, it's very steep.
Yeah, they do that now. That's
I don't like it.
I remember going up prior to the Gold One Center being open. They did a tour for us, and it's like scary up there.
Yeah, we had to leave because my son couldn't really handle it. Like, it's scary up there. It's really steep. Your equilibrium's off a little bit. The view is better. There's no doubt about it.
Did they have cup holders?
No, not up there. I don't know.
Right, yeah. No, that was like a huge gripe here in Sacramento, was that they made no cup because it's so steep. Like, there's not room for cup holders. Yeah,
it was tough. It was definitely tough being up there. But so I saw, Steph. I do think Steph's going to lead the league in scoring. I think that's a gimme. But they don't have a lot of. Not a lot of defense there. I mean, Steve Kerr is a great personality guy, so I could see him maybe having Marquise Chris turn the corner there on defense. I like Pasha. I haven't seen him play. I've seen him play, but he didn't stand out offensively. But I know he can play defense. They're just going to come up a little short against the Lakers.
I'm tempted now, therefore I said it, we're going to go there. You got any problem with Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich not speaking about China as forcefully as they have other topics?
No, I didn't. No, because I don't know how they follow that. You can't talk about everything all the time. And they both strike me as guys that it's not like they fly off the seat of their pants when they're making these political comments. I think that they're well thought out. And I don't think that they're guys that would just speak on something. They're not going to pull a LeBron and just start talking about something.
I've had zero time to think about any of this stuff, right? It's basically like feed the kid, change the kid. All that stuff is just sort of like, it's cyclical. I'm literally have no time for any BS in my life right now. But I haven't had any time to actually think that through, because that's the chief complaint about them right now, is that they have sort of sidestepped, and it's sort of the when you lump it all in with how the NBA's handled it in general, it gives the impression that these guys backed off. But I think at the same time, so many people speak without thinking about anything. Like that's all Twitter is, and in sort of our media discourse. And how do you balance out your employer looking at $1 billion loss and what that means? Like, what is your role as a coach of, one of 30 teams? Like, can you even step out and say anything?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I think those two could if there was going to be anybody to do it. But again, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they've been pressed. I haven't really followed the whole situation, so I don't know how much they've been pressed by the media to talk. But I don't assume that like they're just gonna sit down and be like, let's talk some China. I mean, like that. They're not like. I don't think even the topics that they've talked about. It's not like they just sat down and said, I'm going to talk about Donald Trump today. Like they were asked questions. So, I don't really know how much they.
And Trump finally took a shot at Kerr, which I thought was interesting because, he's never really taken a shot at any white male.
That's not completely true.
He loves himself some Adam Schiff, but I guess he didn't pick on Popovich. It's like Pop is like the holy grail. I want to see him go after Pop. Anyway, sorry.
Basketball.
Sorry about that. Okay, so you have, flipping to the Koz page here, you've got Portland over San Antonio. Pardon me. Denver over Houston. Clippers over the Jazz. Lakers over the Warriors. And so, like, back to the preseason stuff. I don't put any stock in preseason, but the question of do they become coverable is the thing that I think most people watching the film, and obviously then any team that had a center that was any good, is probably going to give them a little bit of trouble, though Kevin Looney solves a lot of problems for them because it's not whoever the hell they're trotting out there. Marquise Chris, they're trying to find a way to sign him right now. It'd be interesting to see if somebody like Alfonso McKinney doesn't make the team, who they also kind of need. But
they gotta have McKinney.
Yeah, right. So I don't know how they're going to pull off getting Chris on the roster. But yeah, I mean, like, do they have like a serious X's and O's basketball problem with being coverable? Obviously Clay needs to be there in the playoffs, but even with Clay, do they have that problem
of being
coverable in the sense that Steph, while he's amazing, like, isn't quite the breakdown guy he might have been a couple years ago. Draymond Green as a playmaker, you can sort of sag off him, and then there's not enough players around them. Is that they have that problem heading in?
No, I think, and I could be wrong, but I'm going on my, watching Draymond Green through most of his college career. He's a really good post player, and I think what you're gonna see on the screen and roll is him crash a lot more to the block and get the ball down there and then play through him a lot.
Do the split action with him instead of like Andrew Bogut.
He's gonna go down and he's gonna post up. Teams are gonna switch and he's gonna have two guards on him and he's gonna score. And then he's a great passer out of the post. And I think that's gonna be what frees Steph up a lot. I think that's what's gonna help in the half court. That's what's really gonna help. I think he normally floats out a lot more, and but I think that this might be the least amount of jumpers that we've seen Draymond take in this run. So I think offensively they're still going to be fine. It might take a little bit for everyone to kind of fit where they're going to fit, but I think they're going to be fine.
So some parallel threads here. You had Utah losing to the Clippers, and it seems like of all the top teams, they're the ones that might have the biggest bullseye on their back. They've obviously got Mike Conley now, and that's definitely going to change things for them, but it feels like they are in for a heartbreak. I'll just bring it back to Rudy Gobert. I don't think this might be the first year that people go, should he be on the floor, as much as he is. Like, I think people might prefer him at 25, 26 minutes per game because he's not going to have the lateral quickness to avoid getting picked on in the pick and roll. And so, like, for example, you have them getting beat by a very good Clippers team. That's not too surprising. I have them getting beat by the Warriors. So let me get the top end of my craziness off so we don't have to talk about it anymore. I got the Clippers as the 1 seed over Portland in the 8 seed. That one to me seems easy. The Rockets and the Lakers in round 1 is where I have them based on seeding, and I have the Lakers advancing just because they've got more depth, and I think Houston's in big trouble when it comes to the playoffs. So then it gets weird. Pardon me. From there, I've got Utah and Golden State, and I've got Golden State advancing over Utah. Basically, playoff experience. I think that the issue of getting Rudy Gobert into some sort of foul trouble, getting him off the floor, sort of exposing their defense from the inside out. I think that Golden State, I don't think it's going to be easy. I think that this one will probably go 6 or 7 games, but I think Golden State advances, and that's where things get really freaking weird for me because then I have Sacramento in the playoffs, and I've got Denver in that first round matchup. And Denver's got all these players, and I like Michael Malone as a coach, so it's not really kind of like that. I just wonder, pardon me, as I hack a few times. I'm back. I kind of feel like if this SAC team is constituted the right way and they play the right players. Oh, and by the way, Rashawn Holmes is now the favorite in Sacramento already. Just based on preseason performances, he's already won everybody over. I think they could be the kind of team that gives Denver trouble. I mean, you've got Nikola Jokic, not a guy that likes to get up and down the floor, at least defensively, and it's not out of a lack of effort, I don't think. It's just they play at a speed, the Kings that is, that could really expose him, especially if he's taking on the workloads that he's taken on in the past. So I'm sitting there looking at this matchup, and I haven't written down an answer because I think Sac can beat them. I need your help, Koz. I know you don't have the Kings in the playoffs.
Well, I'm in the playoffs. That's the first thing.
And talk me off this ledge of picking Sac to advance.
Oh, it's easy. I mean, they're just not going to do it. They're going to be fun to watch, exciting, but they have literally no playoff experience. They shoot way too many threes. They're not going to be great in the half court. There's just no way they're going to beat Denver. I mean, that's even if I had them in the playoffs, there's no way. You're talking matchups like what you're talking about is like a year or two from now, like when everyone really knows what they're doing. When they've played in Luke Walton's system, then what you're saying makes sense. But they don't know anything about. They're going to lose the first 2 games just because they're going to be starstruck when they get there. Like they're going to be 2-0.
Denver got experience last year. Like,
yeah, I mean, so the first 2 games are a wrap. So then they're going to wake up and be like, oh my God, the playoffs. This is a lot crazier than the regular season. They fight. They're going back to Sacramento. They might lose that game just because like they'll have the great first half because that would be an amazing crowd. They'd be going crazy. You won't be able to hear yourself. So I could see them going down 3-0, getting game 4, going back and getting wrapped up in Denver. But I don't even think it's I'll talk you off that real quick. It's not even going.
Here's where I start to pick apart Denver. I go, even the local guys aren't really impressed with Jamal Murray this preseason. Obviously the money becomes an issue, but like they're not impressed with him. Gary Harris had a real rough year. Will Barton's not the guy he used to be. Malik Beasley got, I believe he got Rich Paul as his agent. Like he switched agents because he's going to go get a new deal, and it kind of feels like he might be on the way out, so he might not be happy. Paul Millsap doesn't scare anybody anymore. Now Jeremy Grant's a huge piece for them. Obviously, you got Jokic. You got a lot of players. I mean, hell, like Torrey Craig is a great player for them. So it's like they got the talent, but that backcourt makes me wonder, are they as do they deserve the top 4 kind of branding of this top 4 team? Like if they actually finish 7th, say, would you be looking at them the same way, as you're looking at them right now? And so that's kind of where I run into talent-wise. I take De'Aaron Fox over Jamal Murray any day of the week. That's me. I take Buddy Hield over Gary Harris any day of the week. So then from there...
Allen doesn't win playoff games.
What's that?
Allen doesn't win playoff games. I mean, there's a reason that no young team has went into no really young team has ever been to a conference final. Like, no team's ever done that with way better players than what the Kings got.
All right.
No team that's never been in the playoffs has made a run. It just doesn't happen because you don't know. It's how do you control your emotions? How do you, the teams that win, those, especially those old teams, at the end of their runs or when their run is over, they just know how to execute a possession. They just know how to go dude, I'm struggling. This team is younger. They're faster. They're more athletic. Let's just do it like we do in practice. Boom, boom, boom. You score. You're up 4 with a minute left, and now you're just shooting free throws and you go home. You only gain that by going to the playoffs. There's nothing you can do. I don't care if it's Michael Jordan on your team or whoever. You cannot gain that unless you've been to the playoffs. So to me, it's just barring injury, there's no way.
See, I run this through the Koz reality check for me because then that keeps me sane and probably keeps some money in my pocket. And honestly, it's tempting to just take them in this probably nobody's ever going to call me on it sort of exercise. But no. I crossed their name out and I went with Denver. So sorry, Kings fans. Koz convinced me that it's not a first round playoff win. I mean, you're getting to the playoffs in my scenario, so just take that and like it. All right.
Hey, next year it's a different deal. Next year,
but also remember how close I came to predicting it. I almost predicted it. If it happens, if not, then I got it right. So then that would put Denver in against against the Warriors, which that was your first round matchup, right?
No, I had Denver and Houston.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's reset the playing field here. So I will take Denver over Sacramento. So in my scenario, I have the Clippers and Lakers as one matchup, and then the Warriors and Denver as another matchup, and then you have Portland and Denver, and then the Clippers and the Lakers. So let's start with your Portland-Denver matchup. Who do you have advancing and why?
I got Denver going this time around. Classic series.
Isn't that a thing? That just, that they had that classic series, and now you're going to take the other side of it.
Yeah.
Like two punchers.
I think they, Denver left games on the table because of that experience. They left games on the table that they won't leave this time, and they'll take them in 6.
It's all about getting beat up by somebody too,
Yeah. And then I got, Clippers over the Lakers. I think that could be a particularly frustrating series for them. I think that there's not a lot of continuity. There's not a good mix for the Lakers of players. This is about top-heavy talent carrying the day for the 82-game season, and then running into a team that's just built to go through everybody. And I don't think that the Lakers are going to do – if you told me, hey, man, Anthony's going to post out 20 times, I'm taking the Lakers.
Yeah.
But but
it's the exact opposite of that. It's the exact opposite. Literally everything Anthony Davis has said is I've been working on my 3. I got this new dribble move. You should check it out.
There's a better chance he's going to take 10 threes in the playoff game than he's going to post up 15 times. So for that reason, I'm taking the Clippers in 6. I think LeBron will win them a game, and then they'll win a team game. But I think the outside shooting, even if they did go down low, I think their outside shooting is going to be a problem. I mean, Danny Green is obviously a playoff-tested shooter, but at the same time, I mean, against a Clippers team, I don't know how much he could be out there against those dudes. You could try to hide him on Shamit, but I think Shamit's really going to have a good season this year with a lot of one-on-one coverage and everyone really, trying to stop Kawhi. So I got the Clippers moving on.
So you got Denver and the Clippers, and then on my end, just to keep things moving here, I'm going to take the Warriors over Denver. Just something about that team, their experience, cranking it up in the playoffs, adding a player or two at the break. I think that's
and adding a top 10 player before the playoff.
Yeah, exactly. Like somebody that's like, I want to play with these guys, and I think the Warriors will beat the Nuggets in this scenario, and then.
Your scenario, you do have Clay playing, right?
I do, yeah. And, he's the kind of guy that I wouldn't be shocked if he was, like, there in January instead of, like, late February.
I do, too. I think they're going to be easy on that just because of the way the whole Kevin Durant thing played out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think they're going to go easier. But I just feel like he's going to be ready.
They're going to win maybe 10 regular season games just because they don't mess up. They just know how to win. They're going to treat it. And there's a case to be made that they might run out of gas as a result of this. But, that's my whole Warriors thing in a nutshell. Like, when it comes to playoffs, like, I don't care what experience Denver got. They're just not in that level of experience.
And don't you think, like, for me, I think that I thought about the running out of gas thing, too. But don't you think when Clay comes back, that's going to be like a jolt for them?
Oh, yeah. I
think that kind of emotional thing is going to really carry them through like a lull.
I also think the D'Angelo Russell thing is the most fascinating thing in the world because he was like on the short list of like, to me, like kind of like basketball dumber NBA players. Like,
oh sure,
like what are you doing, man? And now he's gonna learn. It's like it's probably gonna be really rough for him for 2 months, and then there'll be a catch point, and he will slingshot through the middle of the season until Clay gets back. So he's an X factor there. Then I got the Clippers over the Lakers for all the reasons that you said, and probably a few more. So for you've got Denver and the Clippers, and then I've got the Clippers and the Warriors. So what do you got coming out of the West?
I got the Clippers. I mean, it's not even they're just built for this thing. I mean, it's one of the better.
I can't wait to watch them.
Yeah, it's been one of the better constructed. I mean, they're just constructed perfectly. And I just you got those two dudes.
Yeah, what if they get a center? Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, and there'll be some guys out there for the taking, come, through the season. And you just need and like what's his name though? He's gonna have a really good season. Like
Zubac, yeah.
I think that he's a lot
Jermichael
better.
Green will have a pretty good season playing with those guys.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be, and I think I have the watching just a little bit that I've seen of Kawhi Leonard in the preseason. I kind of think like he's got to like maybe think an MVP. I think he might be thinking that kind of mentality of
It's funny in fantasy, everybody's worried about him not playing. I think this is the year that when you call the shots like he did, all Kaiser Sose like over the off season, you kind of almost have to show up.
Yeah.
And so you're right about MVP, which is a question for the end of the show. Maybe we'll just carry that over. But yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think the Clippers, I got the Clippers coming out of the West. I don't think the Warriors have a chance against the Clippers.
Yeah,
I mean.
If that's your matchup, that might be. That's kind of who they're constructed to beat, right?
I mean, Kawhi can't. I mean, Steph can't score on Kawhi. I don't think.
Yeah. It's like kind of the perfect. It's hard to say that like a 3-time NBA champion is the perfect matchup for you, but the Warriors literally are like a perfect matchup for this team. the things that they do, the things that the Clippers do well, and what they can. Stop. I mean, they just can make Steph and Clay be horribly inefficient. And then you're talking about D'Angelo Russell having to go through Patrick Beverley and Landry Shamet. And it's not that if that's what you're counting on to win a playoff series, then you just don't really have much of a chance.
Let's get into this finals matchup here. The Bucks and the Clippers. this is a classic in the making to me. I don't think I really like. I kind of think that Vegas would have that at 50-50, like total toss up. I know who I'm going to pick, but did you want to lay out any of your thoughts before?
I like the Clippers. I think that again. I think it's not that everyone's talking about him shooting in his the Greek Freak shot, and I really think that it's more about where they put him. I wish that he would play below the free throw more. I don't like him
initiating at the top of the pattern with 5 guys at the foot in the paint.
Yeah, it's good once. It's good a little bit. I mean, yeah, mix things up, but against the Clippers, I mean, they're just gonna be so sound defensively, and it's not gonna. And it's easier. It's gonna be easier for them to like against like the Warriors. The Clippers got to move all over the place. Like Kawhi and Paul George will really make life difficult for Steph and Clay, but they're gonna have a really hard time doing it. It's gonna tax them to have to stop those 2 guys. It's not really going to tax them to stop Giannis. Like, it's going to be an easy team effort because everyone can just sit there and wait for him to come. And you have Kawhi, who could actually stop him out there on the perimeter. And then when he's got those great hands, it's just going to – I just feel like it's going to be hard for them to score consistently. So I'm going to take the Clippers. I think they're going to have Milwaukee. I'll have as the home team. So I'm going to take the Clippers in 6.
Clippers in 6. I'm going to take. Well, I've got the Clippers as the number 1 seed, and I kind of think that. I mean, it's not great odds to take them over Milwaukee for home court, but I don't think it's out of the question. So when I say that this is going to go down to 7 games, I could have this as a home or an away win in Game 7, and I think it's probably at least some chance that the Clippers somehow win more games than Milwaukee. So I'm going to take the Clippers. I just think defensively we haven't seen anything like this. The players that they're going to throw out there on the court could quite literally just shut anybody down, I think. And so the big problem with Milwaukee is what happens when you change their identity. And do they have like a counter? Do they have a changeup or a curveball? I think with the Clippers, they have that question answered kind of many different ways. You shut down Kawhi, you got Paul George. You can run offense through other guys. So it's that's, I think, for that reason, you add those 2 things up, and I think we're going to actually see a Clippers championship in our lifetime.
Yeah. And what kind
is Donald Sterling still alive? Because if so, he's going to be rolling over, or if he's dead, he's rolling over in his grave.
And think about talk about legacy. Like, if Kawhi Leonard could bring a championship to Canada and then follow it up with the one to the Clippers, I'm sorry,
he's the guy.
That is worth like a couple of Jordans, right?
He is that dude, man.
That is a crazy accomplishment.
And I would like to point out that the Koz and Bru Show has been mighty high on Kawhi Leonard for many, many years. At this level, not like, oh, he's a good player, oh, he's underrated. None of that BS. Like, we've been like, no, he's the best player in the NBA for years.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Now we're talking about him like, yeah, he brought a championship to Canada, and he's bringing one to the Clippers. All right. Give me your MVP pick, and then we're going to get out of here.
I'm going to go MVP. I'm going to go LeBron. I think is his
last. How do you say that? We're going to go quick.
Huh?
You go with LeBron. Hit me.
Yeah. I don't think that. I think he's going to be really. I think he's already playing like harder than he's played.
Well, that's my big fear in all of my fading of LeBron and the Lakers is that he took last year off.
Yeah.
That's my fear.
So I don't think that. I think he's just going to have a monster season. I don't think there's anything anybody's going to be able to do about it.
Do you think? Do you think the listeners have noticed that you've changed studios like 3 times? Okay, you got LeBron. You got LeBron. That's noted.
LeBron.
I haven't heard anybody say that, by the way. And I know it's probably out there, and it's just a function of me not listening to a lot of kind of takey radio. But, okay. All right. I mean, obviously he's in the mix, and it's just interesting because he kind of wants to, not that he kind of wants to, but maybe he defers to Anthony Davis. They split the vote somehow. Steph is so easy to pick, and that's who I'm going to pick because he's going to get so many numbers. I think you have him higher than me, though, as far as the seeding. Like I do, and there's a chance that they don't make it. So, like, that's how he falls off. If they're, like, at 6, I think, and it's interesting because I have LA at 5. So, like, whether or not they can kind of finish higher than each other might dictate certain things there. And then Kawhi, that's going to be tough, especially if Paul George misses as many games as it sounds like he's going to miss. You know, it's going to be a fast start for Kawhi, and then they're going to win a lot of games, and he's going to probably be viewed as the guy. It's really interesting, just the splitting of the vote, the duos in the league. But Steph, I just think, is going to score so much that, you know, and if they get to 6, I think that's probably maybe the tipping point. 7, it might be iffy. If they're just sneaking in at 8, you're probably right with somebody else, you know, other than him. But that's who I'm going to take, Koz. That's who I'm taking. And that's going to do it for the show. It's good to talk, man. It's been great.
I know. We're back.
We are back. So we're going to be back on a regular schedule here. It might be a little bit hit or miss here in the next week or two because we have so much going on here at Hoop Ball. Oh, my God. Koz, have you even been around to see all the Hoop Ball stuff that's going on? I mean, it's crazy.
I've got my Hoop Ball shirt on. Does that count? I have my Hoop Ball shirt on, and I had Kona coffee this morning.
Okay.
So I kind of feel like I'm kind of...
You're like in there, in the trenches?
Yeah. So.
I mean, like, just the tech stuff alone that we've got going on makes me extremely excited. But we are in our busy season, so if we don't have a show this upcoming week, don't shoot us. But we are getting back on a regular schedule here because it is go time. So follow us online. Speaking of go time, follow us online on Twitter. Twitter.com/KOZANDBRU show. 792 days without a tweet. We are doing that perfectly. And on Facebook.com/KOZANDBRU show. How's Facebook going for us, Koz? Did you know you're our social media coordinator?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't post anything on Facebook last week.
Just last week?
Yeah. So, you want like an overall thing? Yeah, so it's been about 60, 70 weeks.
Oh, without a Facebook post.
Yeah, so but I'm going to get back.
Well, we've made you social media coordinator. Act like it, Koz. Another one's in the books, people. Peace.
Peace.